if you were to rebuild a local business from scratch today, where do you actually start? What's the tips? What's 5 things that you would say that you need to do for every local business that wants to start today?
Creating a foundation where you can utilize as many resources as possible is one thing, and that could possibly answer all 5 things that they need to do.
The first thing I would do is basically get my Google business profile in order. I would probably go after Facebook because I think that is a big deal for certain businesses, especially if you're in the home care business or roofers or any of that stuff, dentists.
You know, a lot of local businesses don't even have claimed the Yelp page, which is free to use. Opening up their Google business profile, having authority on Trustpilot. Just there's platforms after platforms you can leverage, and you can collect reviews.
But if there's 30,000 people in there, and you're in there once a week, and you answer a couple of questions, now all of a sudden you have the potential to bring those eyes back to you.
Welcome to SEO On-Air. I'm your host, Koa Kauwe. This is brought to you by Stand Ventures. Today, I have 2 guests on with us that are going to dive into the local SEO side of marketing. And we want to specifically talk a little bit about how it's being affected by AI. I know a lot of our guests in the past have mentioned that local has kind of been siloed and avoided a lot of the changes. And we're going to get the perspective from a couple other guests to see how they perceive the current market for local SEO today. Starting with Eddie, please give us a quick introduction to yourself and your agency. We'd love to learn more about you.
Sure. My name is Eddie. I have a couple of businesses running here in Southern California. I'm based in Los Angeles, California. And the company I guess relevant today to talk about is Ditans Group. It means empowerment in Latin. But yeah, we're a full stack digital marketing company. We do SEO, we do GEO, influencer marketing, content writing, website development, you name it, we'll do it. And my background is in psychology. So I have a PhD in business psychology, and that's, I guess, where all my fundamentals and the foundation come from.
We're excited to have you on. I got the privilege of chatting with you before this recording, so I know a little bit about the stuff that you're doing with local SEO. I'm excited to get your insights. And Dan, in the rainy place of Wisconsin today, tell us a little bit about yourself and your company.
My name is Dan Barnes. I'm the CEO of KD Interactive. We've been in business for like 30 years. We started when they were using dial-up, and you heard the noise click in, and we were actually doing design. A couple of customers wanted their websites to basically load super fast, and on 14.4K modems or 96K baud modems, it's pretty tough. But we actually got a lot of the pages down to I think it was like 45K, and then we used optimizations to kind of today they call it like lazy loading, but back then that wasn't a term. So we just used kind of that to bring some of the elements in and just kind of basically load it as needed. So we could detect kind of what kind of system they had and the speed, and then that's how we delivered it.
That'll be fun to dive into when we talk about just how much it's changed, right, with AI.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. And I feel like a kid again. I feel like I'm 20 years old, because AI is just every day. It's like every day something changes. Every day I get a new toy. Every day is Christmas. And so that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, I'm excited to dive into it with both of you to understand specifically in local how it's affecting customers, their strategies, even their own opinions on their needs and desires to have an agency helping them through a lot of it. A lot of that's changing quickly. So the first thing I want to ask the both of you, I had a few agencies on talking local before, and they mentioned specifically that there wasn't much of a secret sauce. They felt like there was mostly consistency, and that the quality of the content and the consistency of the content were like the only 2 factors that really drove success for local SEO. And maybe I'm exaggerating that just a bit. But I want to understand from you guys, is there actually strategy left in local SEO, or now is it mostly just execution of the Google infrastructure that they set up for local companies? Help me understand what that looks like to you guys today. Where's the strategy involved in it?
So, with the ever changing the consumer behavior and how the search platform is now coming out with new technology with AI mode on Google Gemini. People now go to ChatGPT directly to get answers more objectively, so they don't have to do research on top of research. Now, my question from all this activities is SEO even relevant now? It's my first question, right? Especially for local businesses, because just last week I saw, I don't know, like 35% drop of the click-through rates when there's an AI generating an answer, and when a consumer or somebody searching for local business near me, but in searching with the question form where it triggers the AI mode. Now, knowing that there's huge decrease in the click-through rates, is it? I mean, of course, I guess there's a possibility of getting the clicks out of wherever the impression that you're generating. But if people are now relying more and more on this AI generated responses, is it more important to be indexed by Google or by AI rather than being indexed on Google first page? So that's kind of my initial thought. And I've been just kind of pondering this question past, I don't know, 6 to 8 months now.
I appreciate the honesty of that question, actually, because it comes up in the podcast fairly often, but a lot of agencies are nervous to talk about just how much things have changed, because their bread and butter maybe has been the Google map pack and everything else. And I am curious about that as well. I would say, I want to ask you too, though, because from the SEO side of things, you don't just get to show up in an AI overview because you exist as a business, right? So how do you optimize a local business to make sure that they're actually showing up where they should be? And Dan, feel free to jump in here, because this is going to be some deep thought, I think.
Yeah, for me, it's about the content, and the way that you form the questions. So it's so like if you say, hey, I want the best 3 dental clinics in Watertown, or the best roofers in Madison, Wisconsin, whatever that is, it's going to go out there. And what typically AI is going to do, it's going to go to Google Business Profile, and it's going to find out that they have 350 reviews, and they have so there's some of that in there. And then the other part of it is, with kind of what Eddie was saying, the way that AI is being used. So you have some people who are going to be older and aren't going to use it as much, but then you're going to have me, the guy that does everything. I explore everything. And I'm going to type in certain situations to get found for particular topics. And I think I shared with you that dental clinic, and I showed you how they were actually found for wisdom teeth, and basically they showed up in the AI overview as well, and it's because of the content that was on that page, and that was content that was created for us by a third party, but they included illustrations that had that was branded for that company, and then was actually told, telling AI exactly what they wanted to display if somebody came to that website. So that's kind of going on. I mean, I think Eddie hit it on the head. I'm seeing a complete drop in rates, click-through rates, on almost all of my customers. And it's pretty serious that way, because you have to then look at, well, how can I get them more volume of traffic? Well, then you have to take a look at the AI factor. So I think it's a big, agencies right now should be running scared, mainly because of the fact that this is a big transition, and it's not gonna happen over 6 or 8 months. It's instantaneous, like it's already happening. So that's the part that terrifies me. So we're kind of leaning a little more towards the Google Map Pack, the Google Snack Pack, and really trying to find that part of it. I guess does that make sense? I think by putting good information in there, and Google is promoting something called I think it's zero click. So basically, where they're promoting businesses, so when you find a business on Google, either through their AI Gemini or through the Google Map Pack or Snack Pack or whatever, it's once they get there and they see how much information is there and how many reviews they have, and it's all decked out and it's got all the information, they figure why go any further. I don't know. That's kind of my take. I don't know exactly what's going on with AI as far as that goes, but I can tell you what Eddie said is legit.
Eddie, where do you agree with what he's saying? Eddie, tell me a little bit more about your thoughts around SEO.
Yeah.
I don't want to say dying because I hate that people say it's dying.
It's not dying. It's a strategy. It is. I mean, you can't just give up on it. So
it's definitely changing though. Eddie, yeah, let's hear what you think. Yeah,
it's definitely evolving, and I think as an agency owner, we have to adapt to the changes. And I mean, we're a marketing company, so we have to go where the customers are, where people are hanging out, and people are hanging out in AI. So when, I guess the answer was easy for us. It was to analyze how these data has been extrapolated and how it's being kind of customized so that it's showcasing it to the consumers and customers. And we basically study what AI uses pull this data, and usually it's going through, I don't know, anywhere from 5 to 10, 8 sources when it's making recommendations. And we basically study how these articles are being pulled out and how the article is structured. And we noticed that there's approximately anywhere from 15 to 25 different rules, structures that these articles are written. And it does have a tendency to pull a strong, authority over others. But there's also a tendency to pull well-written, although not, doesn't have a strong authority, just well-written, good content, so that now it doesn't really need to have a strong authority overall, but as long as your content is following the structure that AI is using to pull out. So for instance, when consumers ask, types in dentist near me, it may or may not trigger AI mode. But what it triggers 95% of the time is when you ask question, when you do the search in question form. So is, who is the best dentist in a certain place? Who serves the best taco place near me? So when you make it into a question form, then it starts creating this AI response. Now, if your article really replicates that question form and your headline, and the headline of our article, or you have content in your article or a posting that follow the same format as the consumer is asking these questions, it's likelihood that your article is going to get picked up. So just backtracking how AI is leveraging these contents. We've been just pumping out articles to help clients get indexed by the Google AI.
And just to add on to what Eddie is saying, and typically what we'll end up doing as a SEO company is we'll actually also put FAQs on the bottom of the pages, so that if I don't answer the question or somebody asks that question in a that similar sentence or phrase, that it will deliver it through FAQ. Does that make sense? So yeah, it's kind of like you're doubling down, but if you have a list and you're talking about, asphalt shingles, or if you're talking about TPO or different kinds of roofing, you need to have some questions on the bottom. Why should I use TPO? What's the best roofing material? So that's how you want to get that, so that when AI does find those pages, it indexes it with that kind of in mind.
So I utilized AI to build out like an HTML website, and I was able to punch in like all my SEO requests to make sure that I thought it was like very, very SEO friendly. And I sent it to a few of my friends that run marketing agencies and said, hey, give me your very critical feedback. What do I need to change? What do I need to update? And for the most part, I think I hit a lot of the stuff that made a great SEO website. And I was like, man, this is so easy, right? To build a technically sound website. And after a lot of assessment, the content was pretty garbage, and there's a lot of stuff I've been spending a lot of time fixing. But I'm thinking about that from the local side of things. It feels like the technical side of the business is still where there's a huge gap in SEO. That having a good website is part of it. But something I've heard is that AI tools are inherently lazy, that they cannot spend too much time crawling every aspect of your website. So now I'm wondering, guys, is one of the differentiators between the two local companies just almost those core business vitals, right? Like those things that are making the website really, really easy to crawl. And then obviously the agency or the customer producing some genuinely unique content. Is that the state of SEO today? Technical and content? Is there no authority aspect to it anymore?
I think, yeah. I mean, for SEO, you can't neglect the authority part. I mean, so we're leveraging everything that has strong authority over anything. So we use a lot of Reddit posts, backlink building through these powerful authority figures, and Yelp page is one of the always higher source that people these AI, even Google brings up. I mean, when you type in best dentist near me, probably the first page on that first page of Google should be Yelp or Reddit, right? So as far as the authority goes, no, there's no doubt about that. You need to build backlinks on those authority.
The authority you're mentioning is pretty different than it's been talked about for quite a few years, though. Dan, where do you agree, and where might you disagree with what Eddie's saying about authority today?
Oh no, I completely agree. I think that especially on certain topics, there's lots of threads on Reddit that just go into oblivion. So you have a lot of content there to kind of get your teeth into it. But yeah, I'm big on trying to use things like Yelp or Facebook or Google, or I'm trying to use things like that. We definitely use Reddit. So I'm trying to find other sources. So that's kind of the way we approach it, I guess.
I wish I could speak to this better, but I saw some data that said that Reddit as a cited source for AI overviews has dropped pretty drastically from where it was originally. And as a fairly long time Reddit user, I myself was getting a little irritated by all the AI posts or the promotional posts that had watered down the quality of what was once there.
Bots, yes.
Tell me how you guys are trying to, and this is not something I expect you to have a real answer to, but the content side of things is becoming the point where you distrust so much of the content because you assume it's written by AI with intention of just answering a question. But there's a question of like, are you really writing it for me? And are you really providing value with this? I think that's where the marketing agencies are stepping in. I want to hear how you guys are trying to bridge that gap of like truly providing value and not just producing content for the sake of filling up a checkbox, right?
So as far as a Reddit post goes, I mean, we always look for answer first format when providing the value. So there's no outside intentions when we're creating these posts. We're answering some kind of or stating some kind of solutions around the problems that is being addressed in that Reddit post, right? And then, of course, the descriptive heading is very important so that it's we get some traction through that. And then the facts, Dan mentioned facts. I mean, the facts, and again, this pertains to website as well. Fact page JSON LD is very, very important when you're structuring your technical SEO. And again, it also goes to different type of backlinks and different type of posting that you're doing. So just thinking about those aspects when we're creating some kind of content, it has helped us to increase the value and click-throughs and just the overall quality of the content we're generating.
Yeah, you had mentioned something a little bit earlier about when you wrote that website content and the technical SEO part of it wasn't maybe as good, or the writing wasn't as good.
Yeah, so the technical felt really good. The writing felt like a bot.
So what you have to think about when you're doing the writing part and you're using something like Claude, or you're using something to write the content, it's your fault because you didn't ask it the specific enough questions. So you have to really get into the details of what it is, the answer you're trying to solve, or the content that you wanted to write. And a lot of times,
love that answer, Dan.
Yeah, it's really because AI doesn't, it just spits out what you type in. So if you're not really specific, so like I'm good at broad strokes. I'm really good at a high level. I'm not a detail guy. I never have been. I've got people that work for me, and they're all really good, but I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that looks at the website and I look at the numbers and I say, okay, well, how do we do this? And I can give them direction, but I'm not in the weeds. Does that make sense? So when I give somebody a task to do for AI, what I'm telling them is they have to be very specific on what I'm asking it to do and the delivery of what it's going to give me. And then when you get that, if you don't like part of it, you can refine it. So that's the beauty of AI.
I tried not to get personally offended, that what I fed my website was garbage, but I need to express that I corrected it by doing about 3 hours of interviews with the owner of the company and then using their transcript to make content that was truly human and personal.
Well, and again, that's the other thing too. And when you're typing, okay, the other thing that you can do is you can actually ask Claude to do it in a human voice, or to do it in a so you start training Claude or OpenClaw or whatever those are. You actually start to get your voice into that. So if you tell
just the as far as the writing quality goes, we built something that actually pumps out the a blog post, and as we're speaking, it's shifting from SEO to GEO. I don't know why, but yeah, I mean, you're right. When the prompt has to be specific, right? So you can't have those M dashes, right? No filler phrases, right? Has to be sentence variety so that we don't sound like the same across every post that we're making, right? With the proper company voice. Now, is everybody aware how AI picks up their blogs and how AI looks at the quality of content? Or people look at the content and they kind of recognize what's AI versus not. It's pretty clear, right? When you see something, I think for me at least, because I've seen so many AI generated posting versus not, it's clear to me at least saying, okay, this is maybe there's some components of AI have been used to generate this content. So we've been studying this and looking at what makes the most naturally sounded posting and genuine posting and has a high quality. It's to, again, look at those no M dashes, no filler phrases, and always citing when you're making a claim, right? Usually when you're generating an AI posting, it doesn't do the deep dive research, right? It doesn't when it's making a claim or saying something that needs some kind of data. It doesn't pick it up, right? So citations, references are always valuable source when you're writing something like this. I just that thought just kind of came by as we are talking about the writing quality earlier. But yeah,
I know I heard about like education being so cited by the AI tools, right? Like they want something that has credibility and not. I mean, people talk about how much garbage there is on the internet, but the bots are getting smarter at trying to avoid the garbage. Maybe the top 10 stuff still works. I know that there was a Google update that was supposed to reduce spam, and I've seen a few posts on LinkedIn that said it increased the amount of spam ranking for certain competitors or things. But tell me, guys, if you were to rebuild a local business from scratch today, where do you actually start? Like, I want to hear like the maybe top 5 things of where you'd start for building a local business. Because I think that there's so many people that are getting the ideas and the visions of like, hey, AI can empower me to do these things, but they don't necessarily understand the marketing, right? And whether you're coaching them to teach their Claude tool, or you just want them to know that marketing agencies have value beyond just what Claude will produce for them automatically, which is a fun conversation. What's the tips? What's 5 things that you would say that you need to do for every local business that wants to start today?
Eddie, I'll let you begin, baby.
I know that I didn't prepare these guys. They don't have a list of 5. So this is definitely.
Well, creating a foundation where you can utilize as many resources as possible is one thing, and that could possibly answer all 5 things that they need to do. But
what do you mean by resources in that situation?
A lot of local businesses don't even have claimed the Yelp page, which is free to use. Opening up their Google business profile, having authority on Trustpilot, just there's platforms after platforms you can leverage, and you can collect reviews. And easiest marketing is what? Collecting review, because it gets indexed by what? Google and other search platforms.
So step 1 would be tell everyone that you're in business, right?
Right. That's, I guess, the very first step is let people know you exist, right? And just finding out where people hang out to find out about local plumbers, right? Just optimizing, of course, the resources that you have. I mean, not every business is going to come up and say, have $200,000 to spend on marketing. That, it's going to be very, very minimal, maybe possibly $500 to start. Okay. Knowing exactly what your budget is, how can I make every penny go super far? Okay, well, let's look at everything that doesn't cost anything, right? It's just leveraging on the free resources, Google Business Profile, Yelp pages, and collecting reviews that doesn't cost anything, right? So, I mean, I know Yelp has a huge policy on no solicitation on reviews, but you got to do what you got to do is to, collect reviews. Of course, you asked. You're finding, I guess, in terms of collecting reviews, and I have a lot to say about collecting reviews, is that people tend to, just not even ask for reviews. And I don't have exact data for this, but there's a huge increase when you actually verbally ask them to leave a review. But even then, people are not, you can make it even more convenient, more accessible, right? Through sending the review link to that customer, or have a screenshot of a QR code of your review links, whatever.
Yep, that's a big one.
Right, and then have them maybe send it through their phone. And knowing the golden time of collecting review is within the first hour of getting receiving services. So after receiving services, you shoot out this text with a review link, and have them leave a review can make a huge difference in the long run. Probably the first 6 months, right? If you're serving anywhere from, 5 to 10 customers on a weekly basis, that's 5 to 10 reviews that you can potentially collect. And how many people are out there saying collecting 100 reviews is crazy hard? Okay, well, you just serve 5 to 10 customers. There's 52 weeks in a year. Okay, you do the math. That's 250 reviews that you can potentially collect all in 1 year, right? I mean, what's the cheapest way to do marketing besides collecting review? Knowing review also gets indexed by Gemini and Perplexity and
That's social proof that's needed today.
Yeah.
Dan, where might you add on this? Yeah.
I
like that you guys didn't even mention the website first. It was like, hey, go out and do all the free stuff to start building your authority. Like, tell people you're there.
The biggest thing is that if I was to start a business today, the first thing I would do is basically get my Google business profile in order. That is like number one. I love the part that he said about getting reviews on multiple platforms. That's also very, very good. I would probably stick, depending on the market and what I'm going after, I would probably go after Facebook because I think that is a big deal for certain businesses, especially if you're in the home care business or roofers or any of that stuff, dentists, all that stuff. That's a big push in that market. Even pet stores.
Help me define that a little more, because there's Facebook, like there's meta advertising, but there's also a ton of local Facebook groups. What in Facebook?
Yeah, so there's different Facebook groups that you can get into, and then all you do is get on there and answer somebody's question, and basically they say, "Oh, who's this?" And they click on the link and it's you.
So being genuinely helpful is your recommendation there, right?
So you need to find out what those spots are. And I'm not saying you want to go in there with like 10 people, but if there's, 30,000 people in there and you're in there once a week and you answer a couple of questions, now all of a sudden you have the potential to bring those eyes back to you. And that's kind of the way that I would probably end up working it. The latter part would be my website and using it basically to get found for SEO as well as all AI stuff. Being found by AI is huge. And I think for me, it's only going to get worse before it gets better because and the searches are different as well, because you can go from so for instance, you can go from your voice and you can Siri it or Alexa it. You can ask it questions and then you can use AI to answer it. That's one form. Then you have the typing form. I'm just going to type it in and your thought process is different. Like your speech pattern, the way you speak is you might just offhandedly say, hey, find restaurants near me, or find a good local Mexican restaurant. Whereas if you type in something in, it might just be find restaurants near me or food near me, or, so you have to take into that effect how people are going to find you and how AI is going to deliver the goods. So there's just so much going on between voice, typing, AI, with your website, with all of the other platforms out there like Facebook and Google and all that stuff. It's a culmination of everything. So as leaders in our space, we have to find out, like Eddie says, you go out and use Reddit for stuff. Well, that's another tool that we use. And that's what you have to do. You have to go out and find those tools.
So one thing that comes to mind as you guys are talking about this, I've heard a lot about brand from a lot of agencies and how brand is it's almost like replacing the need for the website. Like that your brand, and I think I'm going to start using entity instead of brand, because it just shows that it exists so much further across the internet. And I'm looking at this, you guys are talking about Facebook, you're talking about Reddit, you're talking about these reviews. It's all about building this entity's authority. And to a certain extent, businesses today have been like renting space on their local map packs, their local business profile,
every month, baby, just like clockwork. I love it.
Tell me what you guys are understanding from the entity standpoint. And I think this ties really heavily into the reviews, because you're building some trust in there. I know when I go to Amazon right now and I see something has 10,000 reviews, I start to question if it has any actual reviews or if bots have just infiltrated the entire thing. So how do we how do we establish that trust with the reviews today? It seems like there's a lot of strategy to actually building the authority through these really personalized aspects of reviews. Tell me what you guys think about that authority stage today for entities.
Well, as a SEO provider, we strongly believe that specific keywords getting indexed has a huge strength in winning over another consumer's heart. So, in this, let's say one example, let's say a dentist, and you have a dental anxiety, or maybe you're dealing with a special case, thermal extraction, let's just say. When people are leaving reviews, they do not write thermal extractions or specific.
Thank you for my thermal extraction.
Not even a wisdom teeth removal or whatever. Again, the point is that they don't mention the key words that you want to be the provider want to get indexed on, right? And what typically happens is great doctor, awesome work environment, whatever, right? The case might be. And how does that really bring any relevance and really the branding and entity into the business, the value into the business? So what we built is we understand that people are lazy to leave review because you can kind of see from the quality, 5 Google review star with no context behind it, but yet Google still allows that to happen, right? You give a 5 star, you can, and that's it. So what we do is if it's a service-based or local business, roofing company, dentist, against med spa, we know specifically which keywords that you want to get indexed on, right? And we shoot out these text messages that's already sort of pre-written, AI assisted written review, and we show it to the client. Does this reflect your experience? And shows you, hey, I received a thermal extraction from Dr. So-and-so, and this place was great. They were genuine. They're thorough with the work. And the client, the consumer has every opportunity to subtract and add and modify, change things. And they also are the one who's copying and pasting directly to the review links that that the client is presenting. Now that brings in a lot more value than just 5 stars and says great doctor, because you can have as many bots come to your Google business profile and leave the same thing. Just like how you're seeing Amazon reviews, you can have 10,000 bots leaving 5 star with no context behind it. But what ends up happening, what Koa is probably doing when he's going to Amazon, he's going down to look at somebody who actually shot the product, actually doing the use case of that product and giving an instruction and do a video review of it. Because that's the only way to find out this review is legitimate or not.
I think we all do that, right? Look for the reviews, look for the comments that don't look like they're 5 words that said, this is amazing, I got paid to be here.
Yeah. And the other thing too is you get a lot of customers, they'll actually say, they're 10,000 reviews, but it's not of that product. It's just 10,000 reviews. So it's on all our products. So that's another thing. And then obviously proprietary systems like Amazon or Best Buy or things like that, that's an entirely ecosystem for, I don't want to call it fraud, but at the end of the day, it's questionable reviews.
We call them black hat strategies.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you're looking at them and going, yeah, that's not real.
I think it's funny, Eddie, as Eddie smirked about being an SEO guy, you're actually optimizing your reviews.
And that's really smart though. So what we do differently is we respond with, if we know the client and we know what they had done, we respond with some of what they did in the office there. So that's what we typically train people to respond with, because it's much better if you say, oh, well, thank you, Sally, blah, blah, blah. Hey, we're glad everything went good with your wisdom tooth extraction, blah, blah, blah. So that's another way to do it. But yeah.
I'll say I usually filter it to the 1-star reviews and try to read all those to see what the real people said.
Well, and some of those are pretty awful too. So
both of you have a lot of experience here. So I'm going to ask another question that kind of makes you tell me what customers should be looking for at an agency. So what actually makes a marketing partner trustworthy today? Because things have changed very quickly in the marketing industry over the last year or two. What should a customer be looking for?
I think it's when you're choosing a marketing agency, it's just like how I would choose any doctors, I would choose any restaurants, is because so I think the fundamentals of all business, they all exist to solve some kind of problem. So whether you're your restaurant like F&B, service based, your doctor, whatever the case might be, you exist to solve some kind of a problem. Okay, and we too exist to solve a problem. So we want to know what the problem is, right? If there's a marketing company out there that says one size fit all, this will solve your problem without even asking you what the problem is, I think that's a red flag, right? So when you're choosing a provider, a service provider, well, they should be asking a bunch of questions to you so that they can identify and analyze what the situation, and they can customize and tailor the service exactly to meet your needs. So in that case, some cases, it's very hard for me to come up with the pricing structure because it's different for everybody, right? And the different load of work, different quality of work. And it was very tough for me to come up with a one pricing deck and say, hey, this is justifiable for everybody, right? But anyhow, going back to the question is, okay, what people should look for is this company genuinely interested in learning what I'm going through, what problems I have, and are they actually doing some research behind it to provide these solutions?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think that happens a lot. I really don't. I think the one size fits all, rubber stamp it. I'm gonna do whatever. You see that a lot. I typically, when I meet with a customer, I want to know where their pain points are. I want to know what is driving them. Why do they want to hire us? What is it they're looking for? Do they want to increase customers? Do they want to increase website leads? What is their objective? Do they want to build brand? So that's the method I go through, and just asking them tough questions. And I'll even ask them, why are you interviewing me? Why do you want to hire us? Well, I heard you were good at this, or I heard you were good at that. And so that I get that a lot. So the biggest thing for me is, and we do have one price fits all for a Google Business Profile at $250. So I'm just going to say that out loud in case anybody's interested. But the reason that it's that is because I know I have a system that can deliver that effectively each and every month. It automates everything, and I don't have to deal with anything. So it's just plug and play. However, when we get into doing SEO and we're doing blog articles and stuff like that, well, then I get into asking, well, what kind of blog articles? So we'll ask them for a list of maybe 10 or 15 topics that they want to highlight. We'll ask them, are there different seasons? So you want to go through the seasons, because obviously people don't want to paint their house in the middle of winter. So you have to go through seasons to filter that in. So that's kind of our approach. And I've got customers that are spending, everything from $500 a month to $5,000 a month. It doesn't matter, but it really matters on how I can help them. So that's, getting in And we might find out, like some of the things I'm working on today is I'm working with AI to try to find out ways we can help our customers learn how to get into AI. So what I mean by that is I'll ask them, customers, what do they do repetitively? What is something I can help you with? Because it's not just about marketing. It's about finding out the customer's problems that they're having on the ground. And if you can help them and they're saying, well, we have to rekey all the contact submissions in, and then we have to put them into our CRM, and then we have to put them into our accounting system. Well, I can do that with an API. I can just feed everything in and everything's done. And you might end up saving that person 20 hours a week. Well, that's got to be worth $2,000. So there's things like that. So I guess from an SEO side, I don't just ask SEO questions. I'm trying to get at the heart of why, what they're looking for, and then how I can help solve their problem.
I think it's interesting to have Eddie on here with the psychology background to say, gauge their intent, right? Like, what is the intent of this marketing agency? Are they selling you something, or are they trying to solve a problem for you? And those are two very different things we see in it.
Yeah, and I think Eddie's got the right approach. I think by asking the questions and then finding a way to solve those problems that they're having, you're going to come out looking like a rock star if you solve any of their problems.
Well, Dan, even you asking the questions to understand their problems, like you're not just throwing a Band-Aid on saying this is going to fix everything for the next 6 months until you leave this agency and find a different one.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is they're asking, well, why are you asking me this? Well, because I'm trying to learn about your business. I'm trying to learn about your pain points. I want to know what makes you tick. And so it's really interesting because I'll say, no one's ever asked me that before. So I get that a lot, but I'm generally interested in, and I don't care what kind of business it is. I know there's a lot of things I know about roofing companies. There's a lot of things I know about dentists, but I don't know it all. And so I'm trying to find out. So if his biggest issue is leads, well, then we're going to help him solve that. But if his biggest issue is reviews, I'm going to help him solve that.
One thing you said about teaching agencies more about, or customers, how to use more about just different AI tools to make their business more efficient. That's been something that's been on a lot of agencies' minds as the evolution of the agency is kind of happening quickly over the last year or two. And I'll ask a tough question to both of you guys. Over the next 6 months to a year, where do you see your agency evolving the most to match the market's changes today?
So we are focusing heavily on GEO, generative engine optimization. So we're evolving from SEO to a more GEO focused agency. And right now we're doing hybrid. We make sure that every customer we serve are both indexed on first page of Google and also to be found on AI responses. But we'll most likely see the shift towards GEO, just because, again, the consumer are not clicking through. And probably, I don't know how things are going to change in the consumer behavior, but that's the trend that we're seeing right now.
I want to put some words to that I think define it pretty well for that I've seen from the industry is people have stopped optimizing for like keyword rankings. And they're optimizing for like solving and answering questions, which is the big change with SEO and GEO today.
Solving people's problems. If you look at Google and you look at what they're delivering on whether it's SEO or GEO or whatever, it is, are you solving somebody's problems? And that's the number one thing we do with our roofing companies is we say, give me a before and after picture of where you're doing your job. I want to see what you've done. And then when we do that, we feed it back to Google to make sure that Google knows that they solved somebody's problem. And that's a big deal. And the same thing with, any kind of construction or any kind of, HVAC company, heating company. You want to feed the before and after shots out there. You want to tell them what you did. You want to tell them about the product and warranty. You want to tell them everything there is to know about what they did at that place. That's it. And the more of those you get, now all of a sudden Google starts to notice it and puts a circle around where you're actually doing your work. And now all of a sudden they're going, oh, he solved somebody's problem in Lake Mills. Oh, he solved somebody's problems in Jefferson County. Oh, he solved somebody's problems in Oconomowoc. Oh, he solved somebody's problems in Madison. And now all of a sudden that circle gets a lot larger, along with all the, the reviews and everything else. But that really, really helps you tremendously.
Guys, we're just about out of time. So Eddie, I wanted to point out, thank you for the SEO reviews, the strategy on SEOing your reviews, which I think is pretty unique and not done by a lot of agencies. And Dan, your perspective on coaching AI is actually one that aligns a lot with a lot of agencies' views of how the marketing world's going to change. Is now you have to navigate the tools for your customer. It's not just teaching them data.
Right. It's not. I wish I got into probably a 30-minute conversation with a guy talking about exactly how he could download Claude and how he could set up some different things to actually do the work for him, and just walking him through that process. And I said, you don't need to start out knowing everything, but you need to dip your toe in the water. You need to play with it. You need to kind of exercise your brain so that it gets to wrap around how AI is going to change the industry. Because it is going to change.
I love the idea of you're not gatekeeping the secrets anymore. You're making it all accessible to them and saying, you can do it or I can do it. And I'll make it a lot easier on you.
Well, that's the thing. And the thing is, too, is there's no way I'm ever going to be able to hold back AI. I mean, I tried. If you'd have came to me 6 months ago or 7 months ago, I would say, no, you want us to write it. You want a person to write it because it's going to get better optimized. It's going to get picked up by SEO better. Google's using AI to ding it, and you're not going to get ranked as high. Well, that's completely flipped the script because now it's actually opposite. So it's you just have to figure out how you're going to move forward as an agency.
That's where we're excited to have guests on like the two of you to help us kind of navigate that avenue. We are out of time today, so I am going to have to let you guys go, but I appreciate both of you being guests on SEO On Air. We'll talk to you next time, guys. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Eddie.